pensions and how it can get under control, or
you know, that's another interesting question. We haven't discussed that very much at the county commission at all, and I assumed it was because we had very little control over it. Mm-hmm. You know, as I said in my answers, and as I've been saying on the dais for the last 3.5 years, you know, we need to have a tighter Broward County Commission budget, and we've been going in that direction. It gets harder every year, but that's okay. You know, you guys are doing it here, and we're surviving. So, to the extent we have control over those decisions, you know, nothing's off the board. Whether it's pension reform, whether it's raises for this year or the next year, and so, but we haven't really discussed that as something that will save us money.
Right, you don't have control necessarily of the sheriff, but you do have control over.
I mean, I mean like new employees.
New employees.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The question I had for some others is the mayor of Pembroke Pines,
okay,
a union machinist that brought down Pan Am, for Christ's sake,
right,
started telling folks in that city that they were going to outsource, and lo and behold, the unions came to the city and said, okay, and they made some serious concessions.
Now that's a different question, right? I mean, that's a different issue. That's privatization as opposed to pensions.
I'm just using that as an example. Is that a tactic or is there a strategy?
I think it's a tactic and a strategy. I mean, nothing should be off the table. I've said that from the minute I got on the county commission. No sacred cows. We have to look at everything. And we're looking at the same issues. You know, we've cut over about 1,300 positions since I was elected, and the world didn't end. It tells me that we were overstaffed, or we weren't as efficient as we should have been. No one wants to put somebody out of a job, obviously. But I've got a duty to the people, to the taxpayers of Broward County, to run this as a business. So I'm willing to look at everything. You know, we have a weak mayor form of government, unfortunately, and so that puts a lot more power, in my opinion, almost by definition, in the hands of the county administrator. One of her charter duties, obviously, is to provide us with a budget. I think Ms. Henry has been phenomenal at her ability to bring us in without a tax increase, or without a millage rate, over the last 3 years. But I'm the first to tell you that every year it gets more and more difficult. But if someone sits in this chair and says anything is off limits, then they're not being a very good public official, in my opinion.
Okay.
Let me ask a question personally. What are your sort of the key issues for you? I mean, for example, Kristen Jacobs big on the environment and water and so forth, and Sue Gunsberg was there early this morning talking about social programs. Right. You know, different commissioners have different issues that they really push, and the kind of these legacy things. What's yours?
Well, I'm not trying to leave a legacy, one way or the other, but because that's not the right word in these days. But remember, you know, I made history when I got elected to the county commission, being an openly gay county commissioner. It never happened before, and I made history for a short period of time as the highest openly gay mayor in the nation, you know, population-wise, until that lesbian came along and took Austin, Texas, I think, years later. So, you know, that is a legacy that, ironically, that I guess I'm leaving, and I'm proud of that. It's just another door that's been opened. You know, John Rostrom said recently, in the context of not having an elected mayor, you know, would we have had a gay mayor, would we have had a Hispanic mayor, would we have had an African-American mayor as quickly as we have? So that is a legacy. But I didn't run, as you may remember, I didn't run on that platform, although I'm an openly gay man. I ran on a platform of really getting the budget under control, because it's hard for us to remember now with all this stuff going on, but in 2006, the people were suffering as well. It was property taxes and insurance. They were going to drop like a rock, and they didn't. And so I came to the commission saying that if you elect me, I will be your advocate for a leaner, tighter budget. And I've been successful at that. And you know, I also look for wasteful spending. I'll never forget one of the first votes I took. Clearly, in the first 6 months of my tenure, dealt with continuing a project for a people mover between the airport and the seaport. And we had already put $1 million or something into it. It could be more for all I know. But at the time that the commission agreed to do this, there was a very good chance there would be grant money out there to build the people mover. $1 billion. with a B, not an M. And by the time we got through where we were, the grant money had dried up. And so staff brought a recommendation, and they're making a recommendation, you better be listening to them. And they said, we're not sure, we need direction, we're not sure, should we spend a couple more $1 million to get the, I think it's called a certificate of need, so that we would be eligible for this grant money in the future. But we don't see any grant money. So I thought, well, this is just absolutely a no-brainer. So I went out there and I said, this is a no-brainer. Why are we throwing millions of dollars to get a certificate of need, if I'm using the right phrase, that will expire in 5 years, and there's no possibility of grant money? And I lost, either 2 to 7 or 1 to 8. So I enjoy looking for that kind of stuff as well. And lastly, if there is a legacy, in addition to the historic nature of my tenure so far, I want to see progress. I really believe in my heart that the southern runway needed to be expanded a long time ago. I believe that port expansion post-Panamax is extremely important. And I believe that when we've got problems like the courthouse problem, the issue has to be addressed. I'm disappointed that the Convention Center Hotel hasn't worked out. I think that's something that I'd like to focus on my second term. But I think right now that that's just not feasible.
Once the primary's over and